What's up everyone? Hope y'all are doing well. I'm here once again with my friend Rob, and today we're going to be diving back into the 240SX. In the last episode, we test fitted the whole powertrain and it fit really nice. It was just about close to perfect, as I would think. There was just a few issues with fitment of the turbo manifold and some of the other things, so that's what we're going to focus on in today's video, working through some of those issues. The last few weeks has just been nothing but research and parts ordering, because my goal here is to get everything assembled to the point that all that needs to be done is just to plumb it up and wire it and stuff. So we get done with all the fabrication, figuring out how things are going to be routed and stuff, and then once we're all satisfied with that, we'll take everything back out and get the whole engine bay repainted. Last week, Rob and I decided to take a day to just research and look at things super close to figure out what the next steps would be, because at the end of the engine test fit video, the biggest problem was fitting that Doc Race turbo manifold that I got, which it's made for this engine, but when you're putting this engine in a car that it wasn't originally designed for, and then you have different motor mounts and all of that kind of stuff, it caused a clearance problem to where it wasn't sitting all the way. Basically, the manifold was sticking out about that far from the actual head. So what we had to do is shave down this motor mount a bit, made it nice and smooth. I'll end up painting it to make it really pretty, but nothing too crazy, but it was just enough to get that manifold to fit perfect. The motor mounts that I have in the car, the Psycho mounts, that corner of the one was hitting right here, so that was the biggest problem. Everything else, no clearance issues at all, but by shaving that mount just a little bit, it gave us exactly what we need with a little bit of room to spare. I don't have the gasket on right now, but I'll go ahead and grab the camera. We'll shine a light from the back and see if I can give you guys an idea of how much space we were able to free. It's not the easiest angle to show on camera, but this is basically where the manifold is going to sit once it's bolted to the engine. We have a good 1/4 inch of clearance, maybe a little bit more. Should be plenty. Before we go any further, take the manifold back out so we have some extra room. We're going to go ahead and clean up the engine bay a little bit, remove these 2 brackets, and cut out the battery tray. Oil. So right now I'm in the process of removing the battery tray. Now, when we took the battery tray out of the Jimmy, that thing was bolted in. It was super easy, but Nissan had to go make it super complicated on this car by spot welding this thing in everywhere. We've already started working on these 3 here. There's one there, a bunch there, a bunch across the side. So this is just going to be a little bit of a process. But basically what I'm doing is taking a center punch and going right in the middle of the spot weld, and then I went down to the local O'Reilly Auto Parts and got this special spot weld drilling tool. This little point right here goes right in the middle of the divot that I make with this, so it basically guides the teeth. Now when you're doing this, you don't want to drill too much, just enough to where you can maybe hear like an audible change, or maybe you can feel the tray move or something. You just want to go enough to penetrate the tray, but not actually go into the body, so you're not damaging other stuff. You also want to make sure that you're oiling the area that you're drilling so you don't burn out the bit faster, but as this wears down, it's got another set of teeth on it that you can unscrew, flip over, and you basically get double the life out of the one bit. So like I said, this is just going to be a little bit of a process. We'll be careful, pry it up here and there just to make sure, and yeah, just work through it. Nice.
Wow. Memorabilia.
I know, right?
Still intact. Look at that, man. There's like barely any, like just a little surface rust, dude.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Just clean that off, get the rest of these off later. one way to do it. Alright guys, so I'm in the middle of replacing all of the manifold studs, or the exhaust manifold studs. I took out the old ones using the traditional 2-nut method, but these new studs that I have are really nice. They're e-torque, so basically we can put them on with a standard socket wrench using this, and then get them to the exact torque spec, which is between 27 and 31 Newton meters. So one thing that's kind of tricky with putting this manifold on, at least with the other studs, some of the studs came really, really close to the pipes, so much so that you have to kind of fit it on halfway, then start one of the bolts, then put it on the rest of the way, and then tighten it. So we'll see if these e-torque heads make any difference. I mean, they made a little bit of, just a little bit. Still gonna have to do it, like I said, pull it out a little bit.
Yeah.
Put those nuts on and then
with it all the
push
way
it back.
With it all the way up to the head, right? Nothing.
Right. So these are fine.
Hitting a little bit though.
Well, the gasket's not on. It'll sit out just a hair. Let's try it with the gasket and see.
The worst case scenario, if they're keeping the manifold from sealing totally, they're in there. You could always grind the head a little bit too,
Yeah. They're torqued and stuff.
Yeah.
The studs should never have to come out.
And if they do, you can always just double nut it again,
True. All right, fit that back on, see what it looks like. Put one right here. I think I just found a little solution to our clearance problem with tightening these lower bolts. Get a little crow's foot tool, which will fit in between at least some of these pipes enough to where we can get it tight. We can get a torque wrench in here, and then just get it just a little bit more. Awesome. All right, turbo time. We went ahead and put it together and taped it up and stuff, so we're not pulling it apart and risk messing up the turbine inside. But yeah, we'll just set this on here. There we go. So one of my fears is kind of coming to reality right now. Well, it's not really a problem. It's just we're gonna have to do a little bit something different. In the powertrain test fit video, it looked like we were gonna have a clearance problem with my booster and master cylinder, which are both from a Z32 300ZX. So as you can see, coming off of the turbine housing, this is where the downpipe is gonna have to go. I ordered a Chase Bay's in-bay tucked brake line setup, so instead of having the metal hoses that go up across the cowl panel, they'll basically have banjo fittings here that go straight down, and then you route them from there. But even with those, that pipe is going to come right here. There's no way. There is absolutely no way we're going to be able to fit any kind of brake line and here. And even if it was able to fit, there's going to be so much heat coming off of all of this kind of stuff that it's probably just going to boil the fluid as it is. As you guys know, a while back I installed a massive big brake kit on the front and rear of this car. That's why I went with the upgraded Z32 booster and master cylinder, because it pushes more fluid and it's just a better setup with having such large brakes. I mean, I have 6 piston calipers on the front, but one option was to get a right-hand drive Z32 master cylinder, which instead of having the ports on this side, they're on this side, but still, it's just so tight. Again, there's going to be so much heat. I'm probably going to have to get a turbo blanket. I'm probably going to have to wrap that downpipe. The downpipe already doesn't have a tremendous amount of space to go, so that's probably going to have to be custom done. I think the best option for this setup as a whole is just to order like a Chase Bays booster delete kit. I've actually got a bunch of Chase Bays stuff on order, so I'm really looking forward to cleaning up this engine bay and getting some nice fresh parts up in here. But again, just from the top-down angle, you can see how tight that is. This is a really good setup I've had here. The brakes feel really, really nice. They are a little sensitive, as you would expect. So I'm thinking, you know, I am very much used to driving older vehicles that are, you know, don't have any boosters, don't have any kind of power brakes. So I think with such massive brakes already on the car, a nice firm pedal feel with good consistent performance that's easy to modulate and stuff, or predictable, I guess you can say, would be a really, really nice setup for this car. We're going to go ahead now and test fit the wastegate. I have a tile wastegate and a tile blow-off valve. The blow-off valve goes on the cold side, the intake side, to release pressure on that side. The wastegate is on the hot side. There's actually a flange directly on the turbo manifold to mount this. So this is an external wastegate to release excess exhaust pressure. Yeah. The blow-off valve actually has different fittings and stuff to actually get welded to the intercooler piping, which we still got to figure out routing for all of that. So we'll do that in another video. But the wastegate is pretty cool in how it works. So basically, one side clamps onto the flange on the turbo manifold right here.
It's got a little V-band flange on it.
And this, what did you say this is?
The firing ring?
Yeah, that goes inside there. So this clamps on. I guess you route it however you need to, but this is where like a lot of people put like a dump tube off of to take that excess gases and stuff away from the engine bay. But the way it works, there's an assortment of springs, and you basically do like different combinations of springs based on what boost pressure you're going to be running. So once you go past that determined level of boost, it'll force the springs out, and so pretty cool. This assembly is comprised of 2 pieces. To insert the springs, like we were showing you a second ago, you have to undo this outside cover, pull it away, put the springs you need, and compress it back. That's why Rob was saying, depending on what kind of springs that you use, it will take a lot of force and probably 2 people to do it. But we have everything together like we need to. Since this has the flange already on the turbo manifold, all we have to do is just mate it to it just like that. Put on the V-band clamp at the back and tighten it down. If memory serves me correct, you can orient this any which way you can. The most important thing you want to remember is all of the heat and pressure that's coming out of here. It just needs to have an easy exit out from the vehicle, because you don't want all of that in here. You're trying to get rid of all that stuff. So I am thinking that I might keep it out to the side, just to have the tile logo on top. I mean, it really just boils down to personal preference, but if I did that, I'd have to get a dump tube that comes out, has an elbow, and then comes down. I can also angle it this way to make, you know, the bend a little less extreme. I could not do it straight down. just because of the clearance with the turbo manifold, but that's also an option as well. Just whatever works. All right, to fit the grading manifold again, I have a whole bolt set for this, but there's a couple studs still in the engine, so we can just use that for the time being. Just to give you guys an idea of how much more streamlined the grading manifold is, this is the factory intake manifold. Look how crazy that is. It's got, I mean, some of this stuff we're gonna have to take off, like the water pipes and some of the sensors and stuff, but yeah, this is very heavy. That's a lot lighter. And if you want to come down here, so I already had, I don't know why, but I bought a Greddy throttle adapter to be able to use the original throttle body. So basically it takes it from the Greddy's 90mm opening down to being able to accept this. But I'm like, that doesn't really make sense because you're restricting airflow and not being able to take full advantage of what the Greddy manifold is able to pull in basically. So instead of using this, I went with a different throttle body solution. What a lot of folks do when upgrading to a Greddy manifold is to get an Infinity Q45 90mm throttle body, which from what I remember just bolts straight onto the manifold. Now the cheapest solution is just to use the throttle body adapter and the original one that came on the RB25, but again, we don't want to do that. The Q45 is a good option depending on condition and where you're looking. You could probably pick one up for $200 to $300, but it does have some drawbacks. For starters, it is one big chunky thing that just doesn't look all that nice, and all that stuff is old. You know, it's from old cars, so most likely it's going to have to be rebuilt. And from what I've been told and researched, they are prone to boost leaks. So to just try to alleviate any headaches over time and keep up with the appearance that we're trying to go with on this engine, here is the solution that I ended up going with. This is a Hypertune 90mm CNC machined billet aluminum throttle body. It is absolutely gorgeous. Hypertune is an Australian company, and a quick shout out to John at Affinis Motorsports for answering all my questions and helping me figure out exactly what I needed for this car, because this thing is just too cool. It actually has an adapter on the side here for my throttle position sensor. Over here is where the throttle cable will go. This is actually, you can rotate this around depending on where you want the cable to be mounted at. Right here is where the throttle cable bracket would go, actually on the manifold. But this is awesome. True 90mm. I'm really impressed with the initial quality of this thing. The attention to detail is phenomenal. It is super lightweight. Plus, unlike some of the other throttle body solutions I've seen out there, this actually came with a provision for a rubber O-ring. There's a groove machined into the back of the throttle body housing where it would sit, so when you're tightening everything down, everything gets properly sealed. You can get these throttle bodies in a variety of sizes, not just 90mm. You can get them smaller, you can get them bigger. You can get them for a variety of different engines too. This is the throttle position sensor bracket that would go on this side. But anyway, if you guys would like to learn more about these throttle bodies, I highly suggest you go check it out. It is awesome. I included the link to the website, Affinis Motorsports, in the description box below, so be sure to check it out. So before it gets dark, a couple more things I want to put on. I just got this bash bar in, which a lot of people use these for drifting and stuff, but because I'm not going to be able to use the factory crash support in front because it's this big giant chunk of metal, and I'm not going to be able to fit the intercooler and all of that stuff. I actually have a tucked radiator setup that I ordered from Chase Bays on the way, so we'll probably do a video at some point of putting a bunch of the stuff that I've ordered from them in here, as well as fitting the tucked radiator, making intercooler brackets and all of that stuff, and just testing clearance. But this thing is really sweet. We're going to go ahead and unbox it, fit it to the car for the first time, and fit one of my spare Type X bumpers to it and just see how everything fits. And what's really cool about these, I mean, there's a bunch of companies that make bash bars, and I've had tossed around the idea for a long time because this doesn't really fit what I'm trying to do to the car with the whole Restomod aspect, but the benefits of having crash protection up front and clearance for everything else that we're doing, piping, intercooler, and all of that, it was a no-brainer. But the cool thing with what Street Faction does, their bash bar setups are modular. So you can get a basic one, or you can do like what I did and get these extra side reinforcements. You can get like the piece that comes down here to create a jacking point for the front. I mean, there's upper supports for fiberglass bumpers. You can get all sorts of stuff. So this is really cool, and it comes powder coated.
Everybody loves some powder coating.
Yeah. This thing looks really sweet. I know right off the bat we need to cut a little bit of the body right there just to get it to slide back a tad more, but that's not a big deal. It's almost on that stud back there. The logo right there. Looks really nice. Wow, it fits without, even with that.
Yeah, that's cool.
Dang.
Here,
So basically, I've talked about it in prior videos, but I still get a lot of questions about it. As far as the cosmetics, I'm going to be doing a complete OE Type X conversion. I have 3 Type X bumpers. I have 1 brand new fascia. You can still get those from Nissan. All of the lights and parts and all of that kind of stuff. But this one I got a while back. It's in terrible shape. It had a lip on it. I thought it looked cool. It's a good bumper to do test fitting with. So if there's anything that needs to be cut on the inside, we can do it on this one. Take our measurements and use that towards final assembly and getting the nice new bumper in the right order. I also have a white one that doesn't have a lip on it that's actually pretty complete. It's got the styrofoam and all that kind of stuff in it, so I can take the styrofoam out, put it in here to see if it's going to fit with the bash bar or not. I don't think it will, but even with having to cut this a little bit more to fit the bash bar in, the bumper fits with 0 clearance problems, just as it is. So that's really cool. Well, guys, that's pretty much all we have time for today. I really appreciate y'all's support with the comments and the likes and all of that stuff. It really means a lot with helping videos get out there in the YouTube space nowadays. With this car, it's just a matter of taking our time to a degree. There's a lot of research and stuff that needs to be done to make sure that we're doing the right stuff. As always, I appreciate y'all's support with this project. It ended up being a lot more ambitious of a project for me than I ever could have imagined, but we're making it work. This car is going to be awesome. I have a lot of parts on order right now, so it's just a matter of waiting for things to come in, putting things on, and just figuring it all out from there. But of course, I'll keep you guys updated through all of the social media channels. Don't forget to leave a like below. If you haven't subscribed already, consider doing so. I really appreciate it. As always, there's a lot more where that came from, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Take care.